We are up to part 5 of our Nextfest 2023 coverage. For this part, this will be my favorite games from our 5th night of streaming the festival. So be sure to check out these games. And with that said, let's begin the showcase. We are starting things off with Vanhellswing, a kind of score-based arena shooter where our hook here, quite literally, is that we are Van Helsing with a grappling hook. We are trapped in the decayed remains of a castle with vampire bats coming after us, and all we have is our shotgun and a whole lot of movement in order to see how high of a score we can get. The main mechanic here is going to be using your grapple to swing around, as well as being able to double jump and wall run to deal with enemies. Your shotgun also acts as a quasi-rocket jump, and you can charge it up and aim at the ground for super height. In order to get health back, you need to find crystals that are randomly placed throughout the area and kill them in order to get it back. And the game itself will kind of follow the Devil Dagger score chasing design that the longer you play, more threats are introduced, and your chance of survival will get ever fewer. The movement tech here is very well done, as your grapple operates with under kind of like realistic physics, and you'll be able to do a whole lot of maneuvering around to try and stay alive. When you are killed, of course, you will have to end things, and you'll get your high score tallied up. Again, I'm still not a huge fan of kind of score chase based games, but the movement and kind of general combat tech of this one is very well done. And I would suggest if you do like grappling around and chasing some scores, definitely get into the swing of things. We now have Underground Blossom. This is the latest game from Rusty Lake, the developers of some very interesting puzzle point-and-click adventure games. Their style tends to be kind of like a Twin Peaks mystery on top of mystery on top of strangeness that you will need to uncover in order to make any sense as to what is going on. For this one, we are exploring a mysterious metro that each station corresponds to a certain point of a woman's life. Each one will have its own respective set of puzzles, mysteries, and I'm sure even hidden mysteries as well to unlock. As with previous games, your job will be to search around, figure out what puzzles you can do in what order, and gather the necessary items and equipment that you'll need to solve everything and then move on to the next chapter. I'm sure, as with their previous games, the puzzle difficulty will grow as you get through it. The demo we played basically covers the first 2 chapters, and there is certainly a lot of charm here. I'm a huge fan of the Rusty Lake game, so this is definitely an easy play for me. And if this is your first time kind of being exposed to Rusty Lake, I would highly suggest checking out the rest of their catalog on Steam, as all their games are now available. And if you're looking for a good, mysterious adventure, definitely check out Underground Blossom. And now is Echo Point Nova. This is the latest game from the Severed Steel developer, which was a really solid first-person shooter. And with this one, they are basically combining every cool mechanic I think one could possibly fit into an FPS. You have shooting, double jumping. You can also set up super platforms to bounce off of, a grappling hook, a hoverboard, which you can actually wall grind and ram into enemies as you explore this massive environment, taking out enemies, leveling up, acquiring new perks, and more. The game certainly is trying to do a whole lot here. I did have some issues sometimes with like switching through a lot of different things at once, and sometimes it wasn't recognizing my mouse clicks. But this game is definitely going for just all-out insanity in terms of an FPS. I'm not quite sure how things are going to actually shake up in terms of like the campaign or structure. You have experience that you earn from killing enemies. This will unlock more health, getting you more perk points, and there's a lot to explore in the map. It can feel a little chaotic at times, especially once you're on your hoverboard and trying to grapple and do everything at the same time. The game will come with multiple difficulty levels, and things can get quite challenging as you will quickly become outnumbered, and you'll have to make use of your powers, guns, and hovering or hoverboarding in order to make through it. So if you are an FPS fan looking for one that is going to give you a whole lot of stuff to do, and hopefully you'll look cool while doing it, then definitely check this one out. We now turn to Islands of the Caliph. This is a first-person kind of dungeon crawling style RPG based around Middle Eastern folklore. We are exploring a variety of islands, trying to save the day, collect loot, and not get killed by giant spiders, as you can see right here. This is old school to a T. There is no mouse controls. You will explore and strafe around the map and trying to make sense as to what is going on. You'll be able to buy and acquire different gear, and there's a general sense of exploration as you move from island to island, uncovering more loot, more enemies, and more danger. This is one of those games that it is very much exactly what you're seeing here. I like the aesthetics and the design of it. It's very charming to play. But like I said, this is old school RPGing. So if you're looking for kind of modern conveniences, especially modern in terms of like onboarding and guidance, then this one is probably not going to be for you. But if you do love your old school RPGs and looking for one in a very different theme and setting, definitely check out Islands of the Caliph. And now we have Let's Revolution. This is, well, a roguelike meets Minesweeper. We are trying to take out the king who's making our life horrible, and we're going to do that tile by tile at a time. The graphics and the aesthetics are very unique for this one, as you can see right here. Your mission on each map is to try and figure out where the king is hiding. You want to use the clues that you're given to figure out where there are roads, because roads are where enemies can show up. When you have a good idea of where you want to investigate, you can use one of your abilities to kind of attack those tiles. If you're correct, the enemy will take a hit. If you are wrong, you will take a hit. And you will have to manage your health, energy, and more if you want to have any attempt of getting to the king. You can upgrade skills and buy new items as you explore, and there will be different characters to play with different starting abilities and so on. It's a very interesting idea and take off of the Minesweeper formula. I'm not a huge fan of Minesweeper, I've always been terrible at it. The different powers you get do help to kind of alleviate or mitigate some of that, but it can still feel like sometimes you are just, up the creek without a paddle, and RNG can screw you. All in all, I would say this is a very interesting game. Again, great visual design and graphics, and if you're looking for another take off of the Minesweeper design, then definitely check this one out. We now turn to Chickenauts. This is a action roguelike in the similar style that Enter the Gungeon. When a UFO crash lands and steals all of our chickens, we must brave procedurally generated area one after another to save them and fight a lot of mutated and alien chickens along the way. The basic gameplay should be quite familiar to you at this point. You'll choose a starting weapon and then explore looking for money, buying mutations that act as upgrades, and more. At the end of each area, you'll fight a giant chicken-related boss, and the process will repeat until you get to the end. The kind of like aesthetics feel a little lacking, like it's kind of missing sound effects, I think, to really add like a punch to your various weapons. The general gunplay did feel good, but I'm also wondering just how much variance there's going to be in terms of the different runs and what else you can do in it. All in all, if you finally ran out of guns and bullets to shoot in Gungeon, then this one could be worth checking out with a little chicken along the way. Gravity Castle is a puzzle platformer that's all about gravity manipulation. We are exploring the mysterious place, trying to, find ourselves and not fall into a lot of spikes along the way. Our puzzle logic here is that there are a variety of switches that when you turn them, will shift the gravity in that certain direction. I've always been horrible at kind of figuring out, okay, if I turn left, how's the stage going to go? I would love if there was maybe like a little bit of an accessibility feature, approachability, to give you like a little bit of a preview. Nevertheless, this is a very challenging game, and probably far more challenging than you may think, just by the footage that you're seeing here. Puzzles will rely on you not only mixing with the gravity, but also doing some very careful platforming as well. And there are hidden secrets to find, bonus puzzles, and so on. This is definitely a game that I would say is on the challenging side, and there is certainly going to be more here than meets the eye. If you are looking for a very challenging style platformer, and like shifting gravity all which ways, I would definitely check this one out. But if you are looking for something that's at least a little bit on the easier side to play, then this one may be a little too advanced for you. We now have Diebrary. This is a VS Lake where you will explore kind of books and chapters, killing all manner of things and powering up along the way. The general play here should be, again, familiar to anyone who's seen any example of the genre. You'll explore the area looking for enemies to kill, pets to rescue that can kind of follow you around for the remainder of the level, and of course growing exceedingly more and more powerful by picking different upgrades and so on. The game does do something different, where there is asynchronous multiplayer. What happens is that you'll send out kind of a seed that other players can play. When they're finished, they will vote on a quote-unquote plot twist that will change the next kind of level in some way. And you can also do this in single player as well. And that's quite an interesting take. Unfortunately, it's not full multiplayer. You're not going to be playing with other people at the same time. All in all, like a lot of the other games we play in terms of the VS Lakes, Diebrary feels good to play. I don't think it really does anything different with the general moment-to-moment gameplay, however. But again, if you are someone looking for a slightly different take on the VS Lake design, then this is another one worth checking out. And now for something a lot more high stakes with Stop Dead. This is a first-person shooter where you literally cannot stop. If you stand still for even a second, your character dies. And you have been tasked to perform multiple murders all around the city with enemies who all want to get rid of you. Fortunately, you have telekinesis and you can pick up so many different objects in order to fling them at enemies. You can also pick up guns and then trigger them as you're running around. And again, never stopping or standing still. As the game goes on, levels become more and more challenging, and the game is definitely aiming for kind of like an ultra kill, super fast paced, everything and anything is happening at once style of game. Now with that said, the difficulty is certainly on the high side. Again, not being able to stand still also affects your ability to aim. Because everything is kind of realistic physics, when you're running and you launch an object, the momentum that you're carrying will also affect the trajectory of that object. This can become very difficult when you're trying to deal with a boss or enemies that are moving around quite rapidly. As things go on, you'll also deal with boss fights, and I would like maybe a kind of like smarter pickup, as there are sometimes where I was trying to pick up a specific object and the game was just not letting me. And again, sometimes having trouble like picking up an object as I'm just like rapidly moving around as well. But Stop Dead is looking to be another fantastic and challenging FPS. And if you're someone who is looking for another high-octane, adrenaline-fueled shooter besides that of Ultra Kill, Doom Eternal, and the many other shooters we've played, definitely check this one out. And with that, we are done with Part 5. Only 2 more days left, so be sure to check out all the other parts of our Nextfest coverage. You can watch the stream archives on our gameplay channel. Do all the YouTubing stuff people tell you to do, visit the games down below, and be sure to check out our Discord and Patreon. Come back for daily discussions on game design here and on game wisdom, where you some of the art and science of games.